What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the L Squared Podcast. This is your host, Luke Larson, and joining me today, as per the usual, to assist me in leisurely launching you into levity, my very special guest, Old Legs himself. JM, sounds good.
What's up?
How's it going?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's been a while.
It's been quite a while.
It's all my fault.
It is all.
I'd like to point that out.
Thank you for letting our listeners know.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's my fault, but I don't feel bad about it. When I'm here, I give at least, at the maximum, like 50%.
Right.
But I like to kind of hover around 30 to 35. So
yeah, and what people don't realize is that your 50% is like most people's 120.
That's like an average human being,
Right.
flying too close to the sun.
Mm-hmm. Right, because that's one thing you helped me understand.
Right.
When I've had gripes in the past.
Right.
About lack
of
effort.
You're like, hey, how can I be better? How can I be more like you? I'm like, first off, lower your expectations.
First of all, don't ever ask that question.
First off, I'm going to take the bar and I'm going to lower it.
Anything you ever want, anything you ever expect, it's got to be down there.
Again, so we'll say like we do as to pretty much open every podcast. We are looking for another co-host to replace me.
And now we've decided to have open applications. So if you're interested,
I mean, you're not going to be as good. I'm not going to give you any direction.
Trust me. Don't be nervous. We know that you're not going to be as good. We already know
you're going to be really bad.
But the thing is that it's like rescuing. It's like negotiating a hostage situation sometimes, trying to get you on here, you know.
You basically had to swim to the bottom of the ocean.
Segways. We got.
You dangled it out there. I couldn't.
Applause. Yeah, so we did just get out of a movie, one that I had literally zeroed. I thought this is one I'm not going to see. You
it had the exact opposite effect on me. I saw the trailer. I'm like, I am 100% going to see that.
Okay. I didn't see the trailers. That was my fault.
It didn't look good from the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
We saw... how many meters down did we go?
We are 47 meters down.
All I could think about was that Ken Watanabe 47 Ronin trailer, which didn't make the final cut somehow.
I know that they didn't make We Are 47, and they also the two best parts of the trailer. They didn't put We Are 47, and they didn't have Keanu saying, "Then take it if you can. Go ahead, take it if you can." It wasn't in there. Terrible. Let's talk about 47 Ronin first. So basically, if you haven't seen the trailers, just look at one poster and you'll know what it's about. It's basically just another summer Jaws ripoff, supposedly. The premise of the movie isn't terrible. Two young, attractive women are in Mexico, and they're trying to have a good time. They decide to go on kind of a shady operation where they meet these two guys at a bar, and then they decide to go out in the open ocean because they do a thing where they put you in a cage, and then
can I ask you a question?
Sharks come at you. Yep.
Cage goes in the water. You go in the water. Sharks in the water. Shark.
Not sure if that was a question.
Farewell to good Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to your ladies of Spain.
It's doing my heart good, right?
Basically fleshes out Quinn's point about cages and sharks and
pretty much
the Fui that is they are a safe place.
He was a wise man. Still is, probably. But that's the thing, is that Jaws is untouchable, and everybody knows that. So I think that's kind of why these remakes are a little bit more prevalent than you think. Because everybody going into it's like, well, this isn't going to be anywhere close to Jaws.
Right.
So who cares?
But I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I kind of knew that coming in.
Right. It's like there's literally no possible way.
Was for me, it was more like oversaturation of the Blake Lively movie, the open
Gallows?
the Shallows.
The
Gallows.
She was gonna get hung.
The gallows. Yeah. I think that was like the Wesley Snipes like faux western.
Oh
thing
yeah, the Gallows.
with zombies.
Sure.
He like.
Oh man.
Made in jail? Question mark.
On an iPhone.
Yeah.
to shoot.
It was very near like him going into jail and coming out.
Maybe like a work release or something.
Never saw it, but
Gallows.
The Shallows. Yeah. Another, in my opinion, very good movie.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
I know you had told me to see it, but I don't always listen to you, unfortunately. Maybe I should.
So maybe that changed. Maybe I'm coming from a different. This is kind of interesting because usually we are kind of on the same page, or we have the same like kind of expectation level for a movie. But
right.
I saw The Shallows. I love The Shallows. Mm-hmm. I thought it was great. I thought usually I'm not like really like all up in arms for kind of dumb, summer movies, but that one was perfect. Hit all the right spots. It was just dumb enough. It was just kind of like there was like actual dread there because like no matter like what it is like, and 47 Meters Down does this too, where it's like like there is a little bit of terror, when you're out in the open water and you don't know where the shark is. Like even that that the shark is like, coming.
Okay, yeah.
So
you kind of like.
I came out of The Shallows thinking like, damn. Wish there was another one of those.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. And here we are. You know what genre movie that I never say that when I come out of? Can you take 20 guesses?
Let's see. What genre movie you come out of saying we need another one?
Wow, I wish there was an expanded universe.
I think I would say for me, those shitty, generic action movies that come out. Not John Wick, but just, shaky cam, budget. Throw it out there. There's some kind of governmental conspiracy in there.
I was gonna say comic book movies. I'm like, yeah.
I know you were gonna say that.
I was like, I wish there was like a Spider-Man like universe, and then like you could like add in like Iron Man and like Captain America, and I was that'd be so cool. And I wish there was like one of them that came out like every 6 months.
Yeah,
that's what I was hoping about. That when I got it, went out of The Shallows, and here we are. Expanded shark universe.
Yeah, the thing is that you're dumb. No, I don't know, because I'm just like, how many places can you go? They're kind of doing the same beats over and over.
I mean,
right?
Well, Blake Lively, she didn't actually really get in the water much.
Okay.
Like, she was, like, surfing, and then, I mean, the Shallows wasn't very deep water.
True.
47 meters, they're like, but what if we made the water really deep?
Yeah.
Like the Don Draper, like it's the Shallows, but the water's deep.
Okay. You
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, completely different premise.
Yeah.
We got decompression sickness we gotta worry about.
Yeah. That was a thing. Look, this movie's not bad. If you want just like a generic popcorn movie where you can be afraid of sharks and water, fine.
And let's not forget Mandy Moore back. # Mandy Moore back.
Yeah, I'm not as much on that train as you, I don't think.
Yeah. But, so you're not in on sharks. You're not in on Mandy Moore. I'm not wholesome Mandy Moore.
She was very boring. Dreadfully boring. I would have left her if I was. I don't know. She's fine. She's no Blake Lively. I'm way higher on Blake Lively though, so I should have seen The Shallows.
But I mean, like, that's kind of like
untouchable.
Yeah, that's like comparing. Like, no, I don't want to go there.
Okay, good.
That doesn't.
Please don't.
Yeah.
I have no idea where
you're
going.
I just kind of squashed.
But
yeah,
it's like
I was about to. Yeah, no.
I'll just go here. What if the only couple people like that I would do better than Blake Lively for me would be like Olivia Wilde. She's still my number one. So if you put her in a Shark
can we
movie,
recruit her to the Shark universe?
Let's do it. Let's get her, Jason Segel.
Like we were saying, a retreat, to Lake Tahoe. Mandy Moore, Blake Lively,
Freshwater.
We got to add in Olivia Wilde. Get
them all to meet up.
She's like the linchpin. She's like, "Come on, guys! I know you guys you've had some issues with water and sharks, but here we go. Freshwater, nothing to worry about. We're just gonna go down. We're gonna do some surfing, some diving, some jet skiing.
We're gonna do some generic party jumping at a bar.
Yes. Minus
walk in.
Yeah, the club plays generic club music.
Just terrible.
Yeah, they had like a club DJ there. They were like, you know what? No trap tonight.
None. Please. We've had enough.
Let's not play that new 2 Chainz.
Right. We only have white people here. We need to give them what they want.
White girls.
Yeah. Right. Got to give them what they want.
Yeah. Okay. Final verdict, 47 Ronin. Or 47 meters.
It was fine. It's fast moving. There's not a lot of extra stuff. Which I think kind of plays into me not loving it. It was fine, but it was also like, don't care about these people. I wasn't that invested in it because it was going so fast. But as a bare bones, just kind of summer shark movie, it was fine. If you have the itch, I think you'll probably enjoy it. I don't really see people hating this movie that much. I mean, there were a couple things that you and I were joking about that were kind of funny and laughable, but it's really not that bad, so that's what I would say.
Right, yeah. If you can get over the fact that everyone can hear everyone in this movie besides the fact that... Yeah, I do give them credit. They used, and I guess this had to,
Mm-hmm.
The divers, they had, this, cast iron rusty cage that,
why?
That an industrial tanker probably couldn't pull out of the water. Nonetheless, a little fishing boat, but they did invest nicely in those Discovery Channel state of the art masts where you can see the other person's face and talk to each other. And they had Bluetooth, which is good up to about 40 meters.
Yeah. Then after that
they're just
and then you can just hear it with no listening devices on your ears.
No,
it's all.
It's like it's kind of like it's like the abyss. You just gotta let the fluid go into your lungs. You gotta just
let it happen. See, I'm not a doctor, so I wouldn't know about that.
Yeah,
but I'll pretend that I do.
All right.
So, what's your final verdict on it?
A+. It's on my short list for best movie of the year.
Okay.
Wow. We're gonna see a couple.
Granted, you've only seen 3 movies this year, so it's probably top 3 so far.
For sure, it's in my top 5. Cool. I liked it. I had a good time.
Good. Well, someone who maybe didn't have a good time here recently, #segues. There's some big news that came out this last week about Lord and Miller, the directors of the upcoming Han Solo movie, left the project when they were only a month away from wrapping production on it. Because they've been shooting since February, so they put a couple months into it, and they left. The initial reports cited creative differences between them and Kathleen Kennedy, echoing similar things that happened on Rogue One. And they have set a lot of reshoots, and they have actually hired Ron Howard on now to anchor and finish the production and get it out there. So, Lord and Miller, for those who don't know, they're a directing duo. They always direct together.
Is that really what they're referred to as?
Lord and Miller?
Lord and Miller?
Yeah, like that's their last names. It's Chris Lord and Phil Miller, or Phil Lord and Chris Miller, one of the two. But yeah,
because I always like think I'm like Lord and Miller. I always like instantly think of like, you know, the world's most popular female pop star and she just happened to release a new album, and I'm like, oh wow, she was on set with Star Wars. I'm like, you know, I don't discount it. I'm like, probably,
yeah, why not? She can do whatever she wants. She probably was there.
No shit, she directed 21 Jump Street. I'm like,
yeah,
didn't know that. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't, you know, discount it.
But. Right, she can do pretty much anything. You know, nothing wrong. But yeah, like you said, 21 Jump Street, they did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, the Lego movie, not the Lego Batman movie, but they've done quite a bit, and if you've seen those movies, you know that they're obviously all comedies, and they're very joke heavy, and just a lot of quick humor, kind of upbeat and fast.
Very kinetic.
Very kinetic, yeah. Fast-paced. That's a good word. And so, but now basically after a couple days, there were a couple reports that had come out from someone who was on the production, came out anonymously and said that it was kind of, they didn't really see eye to eye from day one. Kathleen Kennedy, the head of the whole Star Wars brain trust sort of thing, basically wasn't 100% keen to what they had an idea for the Han Solo movie, and I think they just got them because they thought it'd be a good fit, and they're kind of a big name now, you know, and they've done good work, so I thought maybe they just thought that they could make it happen. From what it sounded like, the production wasn't, basically Lord and Miller just weren't able to do really what they wanted to do pretty much the entire time, and then eventually it just came to a head and they left the project. So now Ron Howard is coming in, who has a history with Disney. He's an accomplished director. He's a good director. But yeah, so what they had said was, I think what the source said was something like Lord and Miller were kind of making more of a comedy more than what Disney wanted. And even like they were butting heads with Lawrence Kasdan, the guy who wrote Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and he kind of championed the Han Solo character. He helped on the rewrites for Episode 7. He really knows that character well, and he was saying things like he's not a comedian, he's just sarcastic and kind of selfish or whatever. So those comments put me at ease a little bit. I was a little bit nervous right away. But I'm not sure. What are your initial thoughts on this?
It's interesting that they got the job in the first place.
Yeah,
if it seems like, but I think we've like seen this. We've seen this before with the Ant-Man thing, where it was just kind of the same thing. And what's his name?
Edgar Wright.
Yeah, Edgar Wright getting basically
putting like 10 years into
knowing what he wants to do, and then having this idea, and then just kind of having it all fall apart before it even comes together.
Right.
Because it's weird, because like with an Edgar Wright movie, you know, like you have a pretty good idea like what it's like gonna look like the anesthetic kind of thing, and you know it's gonna be like. I could see like what his like kind of Ant-Man would have been, you know, even if it is like a small contained kind of like heist movie. Like usually like the scope of his movies are pretty small, but it's like this kind of, you know. So it's weird that like he would get considered and then just have it all just like fall apart.
Yeah.
And that seems like kind of the same thing here. Like I don't I don't really get how you get this far along.
Right, how you know, like you said, we're getting Edgar Wright, we know what an Edgar Wright movie looks like, and then when it starts to go, you're like, well, actually, we think differently on this. Yeah, what is their thing? Are they thinking, oh, well, we can control these guys and make them do what we want?
It's interesting because I feel like they're trying to tote the line between having, like, a trendy name and then having, like, you know, a name that's too big that that has, like, you know, ideas attached to it. It's the same concept for, like, casting. We live in a world now, I don't know if it was always, like, the case. Like, maybe it was the case for, like, the really big directors, but...
Yeah.
Like, we do definitely, like, people, I think, more than ever know, like, who's directing what, you know?
Absolutely.
The way, like, people, like, know, it's like, well, that's, you know, that's so-and-so, and, you know, I associate them with this, you know? And so you can't have, like, you know, you can't have this uber, you know, star. You couldn't cast, you know... I don't even know what's a good example. You couldn't cast like Daniel Radcliffe as Han Solo because it's like, well, he's Harry Potter, you know.
Right.
Even if he's like done really interesting things besides, and he would like probably like do really well. Like it's just like you know, like just like the general audience like reaction would be like, well, oh hey, that's Harry Potter flying, you know.
Right.
The Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with directors now. Like, you want to have this, like, you know, smart, fun, trendy pick as your director, but you don't want to go over the top and have, like, you know, someone that's, like, too high up that's had, you know, if they, like, had, like, Ang Lee or something like that, it's like, oh, that's, you know, okay. Or, you know, James Cameron, you know, just right off the bat, it's like, oh, like, well, this is, like... You know.
Yeah, and I think...
Am I kind of... Like,
yeah, and I think part of what you're saying is that now... Part of it nowadays is that the directors sell the movies more than the actors do, it seems like.
They certainly have the swing, you know, with the amount of information that we, you know, consume. Because there's directing choices they could make that would just send people over the moon, you know, like they could be like directed by, you know, Michael Bay, and like people would be like, what face?
And you know, I think you're right, but like something that happened recently too was like The Mummy came out, hasn't done well, poor ratings, poor reviews, low box office. There are a lot of reports coming out of that Tom Cruise, one of probably the biggest movie star, you know, maybe of all time, he apparently had his hands in the production a lot more than what it maybe should have been. And when you get Tom Cruise, you're going to let Tom Cruise do Tom Cruise things, you know, which I know Mission Impossible, he's kind of had his hands in too. But that could be a detriment. But yeah, with this, I don't really know, because it's like, you know what you're going to get with these guys. You know that they're comedy guys, and they pitched you their vision of a Han Solo movie, and it was enough for you to be like, okay, let's do that. But then maybe just the execution was too much comedy than what you thought it was going to be, or something, you know, because you don't want to, like, completely change the character of him, you know, especially when it's like starting out and it's a beloved character and it's this huge thing. What happened with Rogue One, I don't know all the exact stories, but I know that was like a completely different film that Gareth Edwards made or was making, and they pretty much reshot almost the whole movie. And I had said at the time I was a little concerned, but not that much, because, you know, they and basically what we got out of Rogue One was kind of a generic action movie that took place in the Star Wars universe, and it was good. You know, it did its part. There were parts of it that you were definitely like, there's missing things here, but they were able to right the ship in a lot of ways. It didn't make it like a great movie, but it was good, and it kind of did its job. And with this one, Han Solo is more of a beloved character. You know, we were getting all new characters there, so I don't know. I know Ron Howard's a really good director, and he's a history with Disney, and a lot of his movies are good and just well directed. He knows how to direct a movie, so I feel like if anyone can right the ship, it would be him. But like with Ant-Man 2, you saw elements of like what Edgar Wright wanted to do. Edgar Wright recently came out and just said that, he just said, yeah, I think Marvel wanted me to make a Marvel movie and not an Edgar Wright movie, and I think that's what's happening here. And maybe that's what's interesting is like I don't know what they were thinking was going to happen when they hired him.
Wouldn't it be awesome if they basically just like kept everything as is from Lord and Miller, and then just basically like the second half of the movie is just like cold open, like Ron Howard, like you see a grizzled, like I don't even know who it would be. Probably have to be Russell Crowe climbing out of like the Millennium Falcon. You're just like looking around at like, where the hell am I? His crew of like him and Tom Hanks and like Ed Harris. They're like. Wouldn't that that would like that's how I like see
picture it.
That's how I picture like Ron Howard's Solo movie.
All of a sudden they're like floating in the Millennium Falcon.
It's like, does like Donald Glover even like know who Ron Howard is? Like
I don't know.
Like that's the other thing too that kind of like makes me a little bit sad about this, because I mean I was like very low expectations for Rogue One, but I thought it was good. It was fine. Mm-hmm. But like this like seemed like genuinely kind of like interesting as far as just like the casting decisions and like the idea of what that could be. Like it could be like I don't know. Typically, so spoiler alert, the track record for movies that like have like violent upheaval and reshooting and stuff like that isn't great. But I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. If the reports are true that are coming out that it was going to be more of a comedy and less of like a character study, then I'm okay with it. Because I think maybe because I could see Kathleen Kennedy saying, look, these guys are new and interesting, and they want to do, and they're good directors, maybe they can put a different spin on it. And then that spin was a little bit too far comedic, because a lot of their type of comedies, which are great, but there's a lot of like fast moving jokes, and they kind of like, they put more emphasis on the comedy and less on like the character development and the, all that. Like with a comedy, the main thing it has to do is be funny, like. And I'm not saying they can't competently direct a movie, but I think maybe they were focusing more on the comedy, and then that kind of, sometimes there's a disconnect with the main characters if they're just making jokes all the time, you're like, are you even a real person?
No one's walking out of 21 Jump Street being like, I needed just a little more Ice Cube.
Right, exactly. Like,
if I could have just gotten a little more Ice Cube.
Like, where does he come from? I want like one scene of him pouring a fifth of vodka,
where's my
crying.
Where's my Ice Cube backstory?
Right, exactly. Nobody's saying that.
What's he doing when they're out on their mission?
That's is he mad all the time, or is he just mad around them? When is he happy? Yeah, right. You don't see those kind of questions, so I'm okay with it. Plus, with Ron Howard like being such a skilled director, I think it'd be great. Yeah, if it does like cold open after it was up Lord Miller, I just in my head it's him as the narrator from Arrested Development.
Yeah,
it's like starts narrating the whole thing, and then Jason Bateman is Han Solo.
Because clearly Ron Howard's never seen Star Wars.
No, he has no idea.
He probably has no idea what.
He doesn't. He's just so in the indie scene.
What
he doesn't even.
What is this?
What?
Like I already made his spaceship movie.
They just recycle Apollo 13 footage and put it in there.
Yeah, it's like that, right?
It's like that, right?
Well, I made one of those. Like I'm
sure you guys have it somewhere. Just play that. It just ends and then starts Apollo 13. That's the end of the movie. Oh. Now, this is gonna be a cold open because I don't have a good segue for it.
Oh, we're doing it.
Yep.
Alright. Flip to commercial break.
This episode's been brought to you by Squarespace. You may now, before you subscribe, saying L Squared Podcast, Square with 2 R's and 3 C's, SquareSpaccee.com. And basically what they do is you go to their website and then you click a link and then it takes you to the regular Squarespace website. Subscriptions like $25 a month. A lot of benefits, including their page is open 24/7. You can go to it at any time you want at your leisure. And a lot of people get confused about what website should I put in to get to, the thing, and I just take me there. I want a website that'll just take me right there, and this will do that for you. So they're kind of doing the Lord's work.
There's also the benefit of getting rich and famous by having your super popular website on the web.
That's true. There you
go.
The internet. Yeah. So, do you want to be rich and famous?
So ask yourself that question. Are you cut out? Ask yourself first if you're cut out.
Yeah. Look yourself in the mirror. We don't want you.
It's the same question you should ask yourself before you get up and try to sing karaoke. It's like,
am I qualified?
Should I really be doing this?
Can I sing? Our motto is just sit down.
Yeah. If there's a shred of doubt in your mind, just sit in your seat.
Not everyone is equal. All right. Not everybody gets an equal chance in here.
All right.
Sometimes...
Back to the pod.
Sometimes we'll just turn the lights off, and it's nighttime. It comes at night. It Comes at Night was a movie, A24 release, horror movie that came out not too long ago, limited release. We saw it, starring Joel Edgerton and some other people. And...
Riley, is it Chloe?
Is it Greenoff?
No, it's definitely okay.
Clove?
Clove, I think it's Clove.
Clove, that could be.
It's like Ceogh.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to say that.
She's in Mad Max.
Oh, yeah, she's also in American Honey.
Girlfriend Experience.
That's all I know. I can't.
Girlfriend Experience is TV, so there's no
so I wasn't sure if you were saying words there for a second.
Yeah, I could have just been making that up.
You could have told me literally anything, and I'll believe you. That's fine. Right. That's fine. Yeah, it was very well... So this is the thing I wanted to bring up. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. Is it... Because this thing had good... Well, it depends what your definition of good marketing is. Because this thing's trailers were very scary. They were enticing. The posters were great. Everything I saw for this movie got me excited to see it. And I was like, this looks really scary. And the movie itself wasn't as intense as the trailers and marketing depicted, right?
Really?
Really, really, really. So, is it considered false marketing? Because it got me to see it, but it wasn't necessarily what I was kind of thinking it was going to be based on the trailers. And you can't just say, oh, Luke, you saw the trailers and you made up your own thing. Like, you watch those and you tell me that doesn't look intense and scary and, like, in your face. And that's definitely not what the movie was. A lot more subtle, more realistic. I don't know. Well, first of all, the movie is basically, it's this family. We don't really know much. Something has happened. In the world, in
people
general.
Got sick.
We think, people got sick. They wear gas masks to go outside. And it's about as much as we're given. They live in the woods in a house, and eventually one night, this guy kind of breaks into their house looking for water, and they tie him up, and they sort of ask him questions and decide if they can trust him or not. And I don't know, it kind of goes from there. I don't know if I want to get into all of it, but...
It's interesting. Okay, so this is kind of one of those rare occurrences where we didn't see the movie together.
Right. Because we were both really excited to see it.
We haven't really talked really at all about it, have we?
Briefly.
Because I was going to say, I can't really think of like what you thought about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, because I, on the other hand, thought it was pretty excruciating to sit through. Very intense. From like the opening scene and kind of all the way through. And I guess like I have my idea of like what the movie... I could see where there is like this idea that, you know, you could get through the whole movie and you'd be like, well, hey, like something's missing, you know?
A lot of things.
But maybe that's the point. And it's hard to kind of like jump in too much farther without kind of giving a little bit away, but...
Basically, there are a lot of unanswered questions. Like a lot. Of which I am... okay with, you know. It's like, because that's the thing I hate most about movies. It's the most annoying to me is all the exposition, all of the, hey audience, this is what you need to know, instead of respecting us and kind of letting us figure it out on our own and reflect on it a little bit. This one gave you almost nothing, and it was deliberate, and yeah, it just kind of... I kind of
appreciate that when, and this was another movie that just recently came out, Get Out, kind of like, it took this idea where, typically in your, like, traditional horror movie, the audience has information that the main character doesn't.
Yep,
and therefore you're basically like rooting against, you know, the main character performing actions that are going to be detrimental to like their, you know, well-being.
Sure.
And in Get Out, you're sitting there, and if you're just like, you know, if you're like a white 20-something, whatever, you're just saying, that's us.
That was us. We are white 20-somethings.
You're just like, oh, normal family, no big deal. Like, what's this guy freaking out about?
These seem like normal, well-to-do people.
And so, in that case, like, the main character is overly paranoid, probably more paranoid than the typical, like, moviegoer.
Interesting.
And I think in a case like this, with It Comes at Night, I think the audience and the characters are probably equally like as susceptible to being scared of just basically the dark or the unknown. You know, it's basically like they don't know what's outside, we don't know what's outside, and it's so kind of it's just basically like it kind of comes down to that like primal, you know, it's just fear of the dark, fear of the unknown,
sure,
and what that like does to somebody. And especially in the case of, like, you know, like somebody being, you know, elevated circumstances. Like, movies don't work without elevated circumstances. So, yeah, there's, like, the sickness.
Yeah, what they are, yeah.
The sickness, we have, like, I mean, we can kind of, like, spoil, like, the opening. Like, the movie opens with, you know, basically them very unceremoniously... like,
yeah, that was rough.
Killing the grandfather, who is like contracted the sickness. So they say goodbyes with the mask on. They wheel him out in a wheelbarrow, and Joel Edgerton does his best. No, let the boy watch. Let him watch.
Pretty much.
Feel it down in my plums.
Yeah, he pretty much does, because he is like, he shoots the grandpa in the head and then burns the body right in front of his son, who is the grandfather's grandson.
Right. Obviously. And a lot of this movie, I think, you know, I think it's pretty safe to say that, like, you know, not a great parenting decision, shooting you know, a kid, your son's grandpa in front of him.
I mean, not probably the best thing you could do for him.
Maybe we could have gone about that a different way.
Yeah.
Because it does lead to some, you know, that's kind of like a crux in the movie is like, you know, like I wouldn't say he's not a child, but like a teenager, his, you know, lucid imagination and basically just idle time. Like that's like a
big thing in the movie.
I think that's like I would probably go nuts too, you know.
Yeah,
thinking about how little they had to do,
right,
and how much of, you know, this kind of like fear was kind of just pent up inside them. So
how little they had to do and how little they knew about anything that was going on, and then like you said, just
and then you have the rules,
all the rules.
We never go out.
Rules.
We never go out
at night. During the day we go in 2-person teams. We never go out without our masks on. We always have gloves on outside.
Right. And so you're just kind of setting up this like world where like any of those rules are broken, and we as the audience, they as the characters don't know what will happen because they're precautions.
Right.
And so naturally, you know, the characters like they tend to overreact, and
I guess
it's basically it's a series of overreactions that's somewhat plausible considering like the circumstances.
I think it could be overreactions, but I found myself watching it in the movie theater. I was kind of like I thought the quote unquote overreactions were justified, and I because like when you first say it, you're kind of taken aback, similar to the main character, the boy, the teenager. You know, you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. Why don't you just do this? And then they explain it and their rationale. I was like, in our world, in my world, that doesn't make sense. But for what they're dealing with, it made all the sense in the world to me. Like, you know, I mean, like what the mom said to him, we won't get into all that, but like just her explanation for it and her way of thinking was just like, I was like, that takes a lot of, they've been through a lot of shit to start thinking like that. Like almost no emotion. It was all calculated. Like you said, all the rules. So it may have been overreactions, but I think those overreactions were what kept them alive to that point, and could be why we don't know anything and why they don't know anything, because they're not venturing out and taking unnecessary risks, you know. Could be, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to ask you this. Spoiler alert. Hit your 15-second button on your iPhone. Skip forward a couple minutes. I guess, I don't know. The movie still works like basically.
If you want to see it. Just don't listen to this next little part if you're anyway afraid of spoilers. Right. But if you're kind of on the fence, maybe this would help you watch it. But either way, it's going to be a little bit. We'll get into a little bit of spoiler talk, so you're warned. Yeah.
Just have one question.
Yeah.
Do you wish there was a boogeyman at the end?
I think it would have been a more sad. Okay, this will be a long answer.
I was trying to think here. This reminded me, especially with like all like the kind of like spying attic scenes where like he's like listening to them from above the attic. Reminded me of The Witch, a movie that we both really liked a lot. The kids listening down to their parents at night. Just the overall, just the general like, you know,
no technology, being in the woods.
Yeah, the isolation,
slow pace.
The slow pace. Both movies are just like gorgeous direction.
Yeah, that's the big thing with this one. It's
but performances were like, I thought like Joel Edgerton's like just like herky jerky kind of like gas, like when he has that mask on, his like his head movements are just like, I thought it was great. Mm-hmm. But the difference between those movies difference between The Witch and this movie is like, this movie there wasn't
a big
Black
ending.
Phillip, we didn't get to see the devil.
We didn't get the big ending we didn't get the satisfying conclusion. It was kind
because
of
there's a version of the witch where
old.
There's no devil, you know. Mm-hmm. It was just them.
It was just paranoia.
Yeah.
And them overreacting.
Like, and does that what this is basically like? That's, you know, we basically like I thought it was, oh man, and I thought this at the time too, because, you know, the ending shot is them at the table, and we assume that, you know, their eyes are black, they're both sick.
Yeah.
And there's a shot towards the end of The Witch where she wakes up, she's at the table.
Yep.
Or she's at the she goes
falls
to
asleep at the table, which we
black.
thought it was over. Yeah.
That could have been the ending there.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And I wonder if there's just like there's an ending to this movie where they get up, they go out at night, you know,
and find some answers.
They find Grandpa, they find you know,
interesting.
Son.
Yeah.
They find there's like a I mean, I don't know, like, but that's the version, you know.
And I think so to answer your question, I think it would have been more traditionally satisfying if that happened. But I do know, based on director's comments, that he said that this movie, he deliberately left a lot of questions unanswered. He deliberately edited it so that you only knew as much the characters, and he didn't give you anything. So, like, all they know is all you know, which isn't much at all. And he deliberately made it so that you don't know what's going on, right? Which works and doesn't work. A lot of audiences want to know what's going on, you know, a lot of audience members. But what I will say is if it had the boogeyman, and like you said, they got up and they found out what was going on, maybe just a little bit more, it would have been a little bit more traditionally satisfying. But I will say that because of its unique ending and the way it kind of transgressed, initially I was a little bit back and forth, and I think what I said to you was, I know there's a great movie in here somewhere, right? I think that's what I said. I was like, it's in there somewhere. And I think that after letting it sit with me quite a bit, I think I got to think about it more, and I think I probably answered some of those questions for myself. And so it depends on how you look at it. I still think that it was kind of like, would have liked to know a little bit more, but it definitely made it feel 100% realistic, and I think part of it was my what I was led to believe by the marketing as this really disturbing, you know, intense movie, which I didn't get. But I think because of its unique slow pace and unceremonious end and not answering any questions, it really made me think a lot about it and sit with it a lot. So if it had the boogeyman that got some answers, I probably wouldn't think about it as much. So whether that makes it a great movie or not, I want to rewatch it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought just like, this goes back to maybe like how the movie is pitched, how it gets made, how it's advertised. It's very like, it's very literal, just like the title of the movie, It Comes at Night. And you're wondering, like, what is it? Basically, it's just like, it's like, that's like the thesis, like, what comes at night?
And they don't answer that main question.
And the main characters are that they don't know what comes at night. Know. And really what it is, it's just like fear comes at night. And that's definitely the most prevalent with, you know, the son in the movie. Yeah. Because he's going back and forth between like these, you know, dream.
Yeah, really disturbing lucid
sequences. Dreams, and just basically everything. I think the It Comes at Night it's basically everything. He experiences all these things by himself without like, you know, especially the Joel Edgerton character, like, not around. So, like, not just, like, fear, but,
emotion.
Like, yeah, like, or
he
like,
had that scene with the lady in the kitchen at night when they were kind of flirting.
Yeah, and he has, like, this, like, oh, like, what is this? You know,
right,
he experiences, like, sexual tension and all these things, you know. Yeah, it's like kind of like all these things come at night, and he doesn't really know what to do with it. You know, like
right. Yeah,
and obviously he's kind of like traumatized. You know, having to go like keep on going into like his grandfather's room, and you know, losing his dog.
Yeah, that was the big one. We don't know what killed the dog, what brought the dog back. Another spoiler, I guess, but.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I thought it kind of felt it. It's our... We end up talking about a lot of these movies that are like pretty uncomfortable to watch. I wouldn't say this one's like up there, and this one's definitely not this one's not like a I don't want to do that again, like,
right.
You know, for the whatever reason, because we've seen a couple of those. But
but it's one I'd like to see again,
it's
and
good.
It's one that can be studied more, I think, which is fun. I like those a lot, so
I agree.
I'm excited to watch it again, and I think I'll have to watch it again before I make a final verdict on it, but I know that
you're holding on the final verdict?
I am, because I feel like I have an incomplete kind of thought, because I know I wanted to love it, and I feel like I pretty much did, but I'm just not sure. I just kind of want to rewatch it, knowing that I'm not waiting for the ending.
Wow. So to recap, you were able to come to a conclusion after one viewing of 47 Meters Down. But it comes at night. You're gonna hold off on. I need
another one. The 47 multiple... meters down the sharks were right there. There's your boogeyman. They were there the whole time.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys know whenever that happens.
Me? I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I think there's a limited amount of horror movies that I'll see throughout the year. Not that I don't like them. I just like I tend to really just only gravitate towards like the one or two best of the year.
Yeah, the more interesting ones, the less paint by numbers. Yeah.
We'll see what else comes up. But for me, that was probably, maybe if it even doesn't, fit into the horror genre, maybe it's more of a suspense.
Yeah.
It was like, I give it credit. I didn't feel good.
No, there was a thick coat of dread throughout the movie that just soaked into you.
And I love the fact that it was just like minute one.
It was straight up. Yeah, the minute the camera started, you were like, oof. Felt heavy and
there was no
tired.
Texting Stuart, no going out,
No one was boring.
Yeah.
There were no sharks.
It wasn't boring.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting... Yeah, it was just... I'm excited to see what that director does going forward.
I'm excited to see the It Comes at Night expanded universe.
Yeah.
It comes at day.
It comes at day. We'll see what happens. Just the next movie is all exposition. Just explains everything that we want.
It comes a little afternoon.
A little afternoon. Comes at 3:30 every day.
It comes at a quarter till.
Yeah. It comes right before breakfast and right after supper.
Before midnight.
That sounds like a good movie.
Let's
do it.
Does anyone know that?
Let's do it. We can
How about a trilogy of movies?
Yeah. Before midnight, before sunset, or before sunrise, before sunset. Before midnight. Yeah. That sounds good. Maybe they'll just talk the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of horror movies, one movie that I kind of could have used a little more horror in was one that we saw when we made the jaunt to Omaha a couple weeks ago to the famed Alamo Drafthouse, and we saw Alien Covenant. And we definitely watched it. And I think it's safe to say that wasn't a bad movie, but I will say that I kind of came away wanting a little bit more, and I just didn't really get that. So.
Yeah, for me, this was kind of a bad one.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I was like behind the curve, because I feel like the general consensus was coming out of Prometheus was that this is a bad movie and that people didn't like it. And I didn't get that, because there was I liked both of the lead performances. I liked, the alien C-section. Yeah. Like, I'd never thought of that of being a way that a thing could pop out. I liked a lot of things about Prometheus.
You and I both really liked Prometheus.
I never really considered the space travelers or the space cadets, the engineers as really a character in the Alien movies, but I was like, okay, cool, sure, let's see what they're all about.
Yeah.
But this, and the more I think about it, the more I think it just like, this one sucked.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, I like kind of keep thinking of
the more I think about it,
Michael Fassbender, like in his like blue Magneto suit, like just like just like raining hell down on all the engineers. Like,
yeah,
that's so dumb.
That was really dumb.
Why did he do that? Then he didn't have any like
that was really
people
stupid.
to test his like ultimate.
And then it was basically Ridley Scott giving the finger to Prometheus.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
There were a lot of things wrong with it. I was expecting it to be just a generic Alien movie. I thought, all right, that's fine. We can go away from the Prometheus, movie, because it's good and we can explore more. But I was like, I'm fine with another straightforward Alien movie. Like, let's just do it. Who gives a shit about continuity? Let's just do it.
I thought that was okay too. I think it looked from like the premise that we had, like, you have like these characters that are kind of playing like genre tropes. I would say like Danny McBride is definitely like a throwback to like the original Alien movies, like the kind of cowboy looking, wisecracking, like that's like kind of like a staple of like the 80s. Like, genre movies, like just like playing a character, I'm like, oh yeah, all in on that. I definitely think killing off James Franco before he even gets out of his pod, spoiler alert, is the dumbest idea you can like bring into any movie. I get it, like if like in like real life he like can't do this movie and he's just like grabbing a burger with Danny McBride and he's like, oh, let's go like do some random filming and whatever, like he's like, here, jump in the pod, you can be in the movie. Like, totally get that. If that's all they could get out of James Franco, no Franco's better than some sitting in the pod and burning alive
isn't the Franco we want.
Right.
Yeah.
That was just a tease too.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
Especially, like, I totally get, like, the whole thing where, like, the second in charge, like, it's like, oh, they're not going to like me as much as they like Franco. And I'm sitting there like, no shit, they're not. It was James Franco.
I hate you so much.
He probably knew it, too. He's like, fuck, that guy was cool.
That was so cool. Oh, he could do so many things. He was
so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to hate me.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue with it was that. Right there, where there were no good characters. There wasn't one person that I latched onto that I was like...
No Charlize Theron.
No, there's no Charlize Theron. There was no, obviously, Ripley. There was no... Game over, man. I forget his character's name in Aliens. But there was just no good characters at all. Like, it was, you know, it was like, I don't give a fuck. These are all cardboard cutouts. And there was an interesting thing that I thought that they were going to play more on, but they didn't. And it was a series of stupid decisions and just didn't care. And then when the Xenomorphs finally came, they were CGI and stupid looking. And the way that they made their origin with this I did not like very much. And I don't know, it just, it was just not, it was not what I wanted, basically. But coming out of it, I was thinking, and I was just kind of like, what would I have rather seen out of an Alien movie? And so I did have, I don't know if you thought any on that.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, you've kind of covered it. Like, I just thought, like, you know, axing, like, the whole, like, Naomi Rapace, I think that was her name. What was her, Dr. Shaw?
Shaw. Elizabeth Shaw.
Yeah, just having that character just go away, like, unceremoniously.
That
just
was
be
annoying.
Like, you know, oh, Mike Flannery's like, yeah, I ate her. Like,
cool.
Really dumb. I don't know. I just thought I thought the whole movie was stupid. Like, for people that think that Prometheus like is pointless, like you gotta like be, maybe like the people that thought that didn't even see this movie, but maybe they're smarter than me. But this one was just like, it was like, what are we doing? And it took me a while to like get there. Like coming out of the movie, I was like, oh, all right, fine. But then the more you think about it, the more you're just like, jeepers, like,
we could have done more with that. Yeah, it was just, there were a lot of things where you're like, come on. And it's hard too, because it's like, this was a meh movie, and that's almost worse than being bad, like we say, you know, it's like in the NFL quarterback, the worst thing you can be is like, okay, because if you're bad, then at least you're out for a team, because then you can just get rid of them. You know, or if you're really good, obviously. But if you're mad, you're like, do we just get rid of you? Sometimes you're okay, you know. And it's just like,
this felt like James Cameron signing Mike Lennon to
the
$15 million a year contract.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
It was.
We basically took like the Naomi Rapace like backup, which was like the girl who starred in this movie.
Sure.
And we
signed her to a long term.
Go get him, Tiger. You know,
tossed her the keys. It's all yours now, baby.
So
yeah, but so I kind of thought more on it, and I have a little idea.
All right, hit him. Let me hear it.
Of an alien movie, I would have rather seen. Okay. So, first of all, alien movies. If you haven't seen alien movies, they're similar. It's a lot of governmental conspiracies. It's a lot of the government kind of fucking you over and making you do these things that you think is going to help, but then it doesn't, and they really just want you to die or whatever. So, and they're all very similar, obviously, and like, I think Aliens is hard to beat as far as all of them. Like, I love the first one, but Aliens,
it's two different movies.
They're completely different.
One's a horror movie, one's an action blockbuster.
Right.
With horror elements.
Right. It's an action horror, and I think,
and a really good child actor performance, which is
really good.
Tough.
Yeah, really, really good. So, I don't know, Aliens is just does a lot really well, and it kind of set up the world really well. You know, it really kind of dived into a little more of the government stuff and kind of stretched the story out more, and it's just a really good movie. So my idea was to be on this kind of scavenger ship. So they're not going with colonists, they're not doing a government thing, they're kind of on their own. So what these guys, like, what made me think of it was at the beginning of Aliens, when they find Ripley frozen right? They're like looking through the ship, scavenging stuff, and they find her and bring her back or whatever. Similar to that, those I think were government employees, but I just thought, with all these wrecks that have happened, and ships have been destroyed, I'm sure there's a complete underbelly of people who go out and they take off good usable parts, and scavenge them and resell them and stuff. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting idea and kind of a different side of the universe that we haven't really seen, before. So we're on this crew and they're all kind of like the Island of Lost Toys. They're kind of misfits. But it's kind of more swashbuckling, a little piratey, and they're just kind of having fun going from place to place, kind of abandoned places, things that are set to be demolished. My idea was kind of like they hack communications to see what bases are going to be destroyed to have them rebuilt, and they kind of go in there before they're destroyed to kind of take the tech that's there and reuse it or repurpose it or whatever. And so my thinking was that they come across a base that is going to be destroyed, but it's not like a normal one. And my thinking was like this base was kind of like a lot of these bases. The thing is that they were older, which is why they were destroying them to rebuild them. Like technology's kind of come across a lot of these. So they were the government was kind of just starting over, getting rid of them. And so a lot of the stuff that they scavenged was usable and they could sell it, but they're not getting a lot of money because it's a lot of old technology, right? So my thinking is like these guys are obviously just in it for the money and they haven't been making as much. So there's kind of some tenseness in the group. They're kind of at each other's throats a little bit. Well, then they come across this comm that they steal saying that they're going to destroy this base, and this is like a new base, like brand new, and they get when it's going to be destroyed or whatever, demolished, and they have like this finite window, and they are like, we got to shoot for it, and they don't really know. They doesn't say why it's going to be destroyed, just that it's a new base pretty much, and it's going to be destroyed. So they come across it without being detected somehow. We can figure that out later. But they come across it and just like, you come in and the place is like, you walk in and they're walking around, and they're not like the colonial marines. They don't have these huge guns. They're just like, swashbucklers. So they kind of break in and there's kind of like an eeriness to it, and they see that like the doors have been welded shut with like things on them, and then you see like little bits of acid dripping from the little technology and things.
Yeah, what's that from?
Exactly. And then they're kind of like debating if they should stay, or if they should go. And my thinking was like maybe they come across a guy who's like telling them to leave, and they kind of freaks them out. And I like the idea of like this guy running out to him, be like, oh, freaking out and like passing out. And they go back to their ship and they're starting to take off. And then as he's unconscious, because he like passed out, he didn't really tell them what was going on. They were like, I don't know, should we leave? Should we stay? And they were like, we really need this money. So I like the idea of them having a chance to leave, but then deciding that, no, this is too good of an opportunity, so we're going to go back. And then obviously he wakes up at some point, and he's like telling them at some point while they're in there that this is what's going on. So basically they're like scavenging, they're looking through this abandoned place with all this new stuff. And they, like I said, they don't really have a lot of weapons on them, and they're carrying heavy stuff, so they're kind of weighed down, and then, obviously, it goes from there. They hear little noises, it starts with that, and then, yeah, kind of goes from there. So, that was kind of into a, basic horror. You can kind of fill in the blanks from there, but that was kind of what I thought of would be kind of cool as a movie. And then, because then you have like these rogue, rebellious type characters that are fun and kind of different. And then it's not just the same old governmental conspiracy, like the government wants you to go here to either set up colonists or to help the colonists or to go see what happened, because there's a life form there. It's not that driving force behind it. And then there's also like a ticking, there's some good mystery in there. There's a ticking time. There's a ticking bomb with the place is going to be destroyed soon, and then there's a reason for them to be there and not leave, and it's also a different look at the world that we haven't seen before. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
So I was listening, and I agree with a lot of that.
And you just fell asleep.
And I was wondering if your version of Alien had some highbrow Guy Pearce exposition at any point. Because that's what I wanted more of. I wanted
in Alien Covenant?
In
any movie?
Any movie.
Any movie. There would be a distinct lack of the...
Yeah, there was like a solid
Pearce.
5 minutes at the start of it, which is just like...
Yeah.
Alright.
Didn't have anything to do with the rest of the movie.
And I was like, wow, I need like 25 more minutes of that.
Yeah.
At least. We just need to keep going back to it.
Just keep cutting back. I want to hear him play the piano.
Yeah.
I want to hear him do this. I want him to look at the statue of David. Yeah.
That's what
So, no, there will not be much of that.
Interesting.
But I like the idea of making it more... Like, slow it down a little bit. Slow down the pace. Set it up. These guys are guys that try to fly under the radar, don't want to be detected, and they kind of take their time, and it's like...
So kind of a different set of, like, character tropes.
Right, than what we've seen in every movie.
Right. Like, maybe a touch more resourceful.
Exactly.
Outside of, like, Ripley being, like, kind of...
Mary Sue,
as far as like can kind of get herself out of anything.
Yeah, so it's kind of like guys that aren't just like government guys or military guys, and there could be obviously there's going to be women on there, and there can be a woman captain. I don't care, but that doesn't matter. It's just characters, and yeah, a little more resourceful, a little more.
About if it's all women?
We actually can't, we don't have the budget for that. we can't. Logistically, they can't. Then they'll all be on the same menstrual cycle, and it's just a mess. We don't want that. Those be chatty Cathys the whole time. They won't get anything done. They have to be back in time to make supper for their husbands. They can't be out getting, going to places and whatnot. Leave your comments down below. What that. But yeah, so I really kind of like that idea. And I was like playing with it a lot, going back and forth, just kind of thinking of what I wanted to do. And I kind of like that. I like the mystery aspect. I thought of like, at some point, I thought, maybe they could be like contractors. But I was like, nah, I'd rather just be detached from, get away from the whole government conspiracy thing. Because I was thinking about that too, because like after all these big events happen, like there's still shit there, and a lot of times there's still xenomorphs there. They just escape, and it's like, well, then what happens? Like it would make sense that the government would destroy the ships, try and get rid of evidence and stuff, and just kind of I thought of this different kind of world, and we would probably open with some. I'm assuming we'd open on some cool Blade Runner-y planet. It's kind of raining, and they're on some deck, some port, and they landed, and they're bartering with the guy trying to sell some of their stuff, and they're giving them low prices and stuff. And then there's probably some exposition of like, we don't get as much as we used to for this kind of stuff, and just laying the groundwork of this kind of stuff. And
I was always like kind of interested to like, when did these movies like turn into like Ridley Scott telling us the secrets of the universe?
2012. Those when Prometheus came out, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think I missed that narrative Where like people were coming out of like Prometheus, they were like what the hell, like they were supposed to explain. I was supposed to see the face of God.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like I completely missed that. Like, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, Ridley Scott doesn't pretend to be a philosopher. I don't think. Like,
never.
I don't know if he's qualified to answer those questions. But that's I thought the whole thing of Prometheus that I liked, where there were a lot of those big answers that they attempted to solve, but just like a lot of those just won't be, and just the pursuit of solving them is kind of the interesting thing, and not the answers. Because once you know the answers, it's done. You know, you're just like, all right, that's it, bye. I think everybody can strive for that.
Yeah, and now we did get the answers.
Yeah, David fucking blew him up.
Yeah, Dr. Shaw rebuilt David's whole body, and then he, you know, I assumed, you know, pulled her spinal cord out of her ass and said, fuck you. And it's just it's the most like yada yada-y like plot device I've ever heard.
It really is.
And I was just like, I won't say that I was offended, but I was like, really?
Offended. I'm deeply hurt.
I was deeply offended. It's not often, but that was just frustrating.
Yeah. So, and I think Alien Covenant was just kind of a, like you said, yada yada, go with it. Just look, everybody, like, Ridley Scott's like, look, this is what an alien movie looks like, here you go. You know, just fucking shit it out, and it's on the conveyor belt, you know. But, I mean, when you rewatch Alien, they don't really give you much, and it's such a slow burn. It's excellent. There's only one fucking alien on there. And it's just so...
That's typically all you need.
That is all you need. It makes it better.
Humans are, like, very ill-equipped to do battle with aliens.
Yeah.
You know?
Like...
There's, like, a reason they're, like, the government wants them as, you know, a weapon of mass destruction. Because, like, you know, a handful of people don't have good odds.
Right.
You know?
No, not at all.
And it's just, like... I don't know, this movie just sucked.
Yeah, it just wasn't good. So, I kind of liked... It was fun. I liked my idea for it. I think people get on board.
It's hard, too, because I feel like this is one of those, like, franchises or whatnot where, like the shine of, like, the first, like, 20 minutes, kind of no matter what they put up, is always going to be kind of interesting. Like, oh.
Right.
Oh, we're on a spaceship. We're going to a planet. Oh, like, it's, you know, an alien. Like, face grabber. And it's like, and then once you get past that, like, 30, 40 minutes, it's like...
You're like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Wait.
Wait a minute. I've seen this.
Hold up.
Yeah. So that's why I like the kind of different take on it. And it has similar themes to a lot of other movies, but it's a little more contained and just a different look at it, I think. But cause that's what I felt Alien Covenant was like, all right, we're kind of... The tropes are just tired and, you know, it's like, I don't know. I think we probably could have done better, but...
Closing thoughts?
Fuck Alien Covenant, dog. Fuck this shit, dude. Movie sucked. But, yeah, check out... I think It Comes at Night. Definitely worth checking out. It's a good case study. Lord Miller leaving. Star Wars... I don't know. Decide for yourself on that one. And, check us out. You can find this podcast on YouTube. It's under Luke Larson. That's me. Otherwise, it's on SoundCloud, L Squared Podcast. We have a Facebook page. You can find us on Twitter, all L Squared or L2 Podcast. Otherwise, if you can't find any of that, you can find me on Twitter at LukeLarson89, and I'll be retweeting this shit so you can find it. Otherwise, we're still looking for co-hosts. Open invitation. You can come in.
we'll probably explore 47 meters down more once Oscar season comes back around.
Right.
Danny Moore is going to get a lot of hype. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll check back in with you then. But yeah, until then, peace.